Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Partners 25th Anniversary Breakfast. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Anne Marie Holly. I was a member of the Partners Committee for almost 10 years and an employee of theirs for quite a few years as well, coordinating farmers markets and fitness challenges. I recently moved to Connecticut, but I made a promise to Marcia and the committee planning this that I would be back because I committed to emceeing, and you can't get rid of me that easily. So 2 hours later, I'm here, and I'm very excited that this is the 25th anniversary of such a great steering committee and organization and exemplary Chennault in Massachusetts. I've told this story many times that when I first started as an AmeriCorps member 10 years ago in Fall River, Carrie's son, Brendan, is the person that I took the reins of that job from, and he said to me, if you wanted to know the right people in Fall River to collaborate with, that were great players in the city that all got along well and just wanted to make the community a better place, it was Partners, that you needed to go there to learn about them and to just get involved in any initiative you could that Partners was leading, because it was bound for success with the people that were on the steering committee and invested in this community. So first and foremost, I'd like to introduce Carrie Mello, who is the chairperson of Partners for a Healthier Community.
Good morning, everybody, and thank you all for coming to help us celebrate. I have a few sheets of paper here. Don't worry, I'm not going to give a long speech, but the retired brain needs a list. And I want to recognize the people behind Partners. That's sort of my role. As Anne Marie said, Partners, has a long and rich legacy of work, and it's work that's been recognized both locally and nationally. But it's really the people who sit around many, many tables who make our organization work so well. So I'd like to recognize some of them. First, I'd like to recognize the staff, and they're the glue that holds Partners together and keeps us moving forward. I think you all know Marcia Picard. I think her energy, and she's our amazing executive director. Suzanne Ramos, who you'll see put together the amazing audio visuals and does such a fantastic job of keeping Partners in the news. And also Yancy Fontanez, who's a new staff person. Yancy's right over there. And Yancy has then allowed us to do a lot of multilingual and multicultural outreach that we haven't maybe been able to do in the past. So she's doing a great job too. And I'd also like to recognize the work of some recent Partner staff, including Mike Coughlin, one of the founders of Partners, who recently has helped with strategic planning and setting goals that improve the health of our communities, and also Angie Braz, who did a lot of work with workplace wellness, and Dave Weed, who we'll all hear from. I also want to mention our current executive board, which includes Colleen Hart, John Silva, if you all want to at least wave so people sort of know who we are, Robin Jones, and Lisa Alves, who all who have been involved with Partners a long time, and our immediate past chair, who just did an amazing job and whose shoes I've had to scurry around to fill in the past year, one more year to go. Tracy Ibbotson, and we don't have Wendy Garth-Lip with us today, but I'd be remiss not to recognize all the work that she's done in the past and also the work that she's currently doing to help lead Partners for many years. And last but not least, I just want to recognize all the organizations that make up our steering committee. There's regularly about between 30 and 40 people at the table every month, which is kind of amazing. And that's what makes Partners so great, is the power of collaboration and what it can accomplish. So again, if you want to, I'm going to just read the agencies rather than read all the people. But if you want to just kind of wave, Bristol County District Attorney, if you're here, Bristol Elder Services, Citizens for Citizens, the City of Fall River Youth Services, the City of Fall River Health Department, Fall River Child and Family Services, Fall River Housing Authority, Fall River School Department, Family Services Association, Greater Fall River Recreation, Brownwork South Coast, Health First Family Health Center, People Incorporated, South Bay Community Services, South Coast Hospital, STAR, Stewart St. Anne's, the Women's Center, United Neighbors, United Way, and YMCA South Coast. And these are just the organizations that sort of help lead partners. There's many others that are at the table too. So as you can see, it's really an amazing collaborative organization. And also we have a few citizens, Marilyn Edge, who happens to be here today, and Gladys Versovsky. So again, to honor the people that are behind Partners, if we could all sort of give yourself and I'm going to hand it back to Anne-Marie.
Thank you very much, Carrie. And at this time, I'd like to introduce Mike Coughlin, who is an original member of Partners for a Healthier Community, to introduce our keynote speaker. Please, a round of applause.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I've known our keynote speaker for a long time, longer than the 25 years that we're celebrating this morning. And I have some stuff that I thought I'd share with you. Suzanne and David are going to be doing the multimedia. I have an analog presentation. This is a button for the Councils for Children. Raise your hand if you've ever heard of a council for children. There's a few. I work for the Office for Children, which sponsored this statewide network of local child advocacy coalitions back in the mid-'80s. I was a Fall River resident then, and would cross paths with the Fall River Council on occasion, and Dave was an active member of the councils at that time. And I was very impressed when I got to know the guy, because he worked for DMH at the time, and he was a practicing community psychologist, which is an unusual designation. You ever heard of that before? He was among a small cadre of clinicians whose patients, if you will, was the community in which they were practicing. So on DMH's dime, he used to go to OFC meetings, Council for Children meetings, and things like that, and continued that sort of work as he helped found this organization back in the early 90s. And I went through my own personal archives to remind myself of what I should talk about in talking points. So instead of talking points, I brought some stuff. And I'm going to leave it here. If we ever have a museum, I'll be happy to donate these materials to that. So this is a 1984 needs assessment of the Greater Fall River Local Council and Office for Children. Your name's not in it, Dave, but I'm sure you contributed to it in some way. But your name is in this document, which is a 1989 version of the same thing, and I found your signature on the inside. So this dates back to 1989.
It's forged.
Sense of history of what we're talking about here. In the early days of the Chinah, Dave was sort of informally our parliamentarian. So I have for you an original copy of our first set of bylaws that I found, and Dave was the principal author of those. So what I'm hoping you're getting is an appreciation of the breadth of involvement that he has had. Our first brochure, I don't know if you did this, but I know that you're the one who originally came up with this logo, which we continue to preserve in various forms over our entire 25-year.
That was stolen.
Well, you didn't need to say that. Our first strategic plan from 1996 to 1999. I know you had a big hand in putting that together. You didn't have much personally to do with this. You know what this is? This is a needs assessment conducted by an outside organization, the Professional Research Consultants, Charlton Memorial, in the person of one of Terry's and Rachel's predecessors named Joan Roover paid for a comprehensive survey of several thousand people in Greater Fall River, and it was essentially a localized version of the behavior risk factor survey that DPH does statewide. This document put us on the map. It is full of data about the health status of Fall River residents. The Herald News did a 12-page supplement on it, and it was spread all over town. Got us a lot of recognition. It was the first time that our Chenal stood out among the other 27, which again is a trend that continued for the 25 years. This is an agenda from a 2003 meeting where Dave made the initial presentation about an initiative that we were working on with the mayor's office, Healthy Fall River. So that started in 2003. And I'm pretty sure this is the first time you talked about it at a meeting in November of that year. I also got you to help me out in organizing the Ounce of Prevention Conference. That started back in the early 90s. I was working for DPH at that time, and I was the organizer of it for its first 7 or 8 years. And if you have a chance later, come up and see pictures of both David and me on the outside here, looking, I'm looking much more distinguished with some with some hair and still have some brown in my beard. David, on the other hand, is looking a little bit more fleshed out. Big brown glasses. I enjoy seeing this. I don't know why I brought my wedding pictures, except to say that David was the photographer that day. And this is the anecdote I want to share with you. When we woke up on the morning after our wedding night, there was a CD tucked inside the door with 800 or so photographs from the event itself. So that's typical David stuff, right? This is the first, or this is not the first, but one of the early overviews of the Healthy City Initiative. It doesn't even have Mayor Lambert in it, who started it. This one goes back to the first, Mayor Correa the first. Not to be confused with Mayor Correa the second, who's the one who's currently in office, at least for now. We always had a history of being recognized by outside players for some of the work we do. Dave used to put out, again in the analog days, a paper newsletter, the Healthy City Fall River Connection. And this version of the newsletter has Mayor Lambert accepting an award on behalf of us for the Healthy City Initiative, the Innovation Award from the Mass Municipal Association. Wish the table was bigger. It was around that time that Dave became an evangelist in the Fat versus Sugar Awards. And I remember some fairly intense conversations at the steering committee table with those of us who were still old school at the time, still being uncertain about the benefits of eating fat. But David has been proven right, given the data that has come out since then. And we congratulate him for that. It was also around this time that we started seeing the camera showing up, and I had a camera. Yeah, I was hold up a camera. But he started doing, remember, if you can't see it, it's too small, but he set up a website and would put up an array of photographs from every event that he went to. And I can't tell you how many times, I was the health director at the time, the Fall River director at the time, I would run into somebody, go to a meeting, and they would talk about the event that they had the previous week. And at the end of gushing about their great event, they would say, and Dr. David Weed was there, and he took pictures, and they were up on the website. And there are still hundreds of these available in our archive website that you can look at. Thousands of them.
15,000.
Okay, we're almost done. Probably the most significant recognition we've had, and I'm sure this will come up in the presentations you're going to see, was when the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation recognized us as among the first recipients of the Culture of Health Award. And this is the photograph of those of us who were fortunate enough to go down to Princeton, New Jersey, and receive the award. But it really reflects a lot of great work that David did to put together our response to their call for nominations. So he had a lot to do with us winning this award. And I guess that's really all we need to do. Of course, I should have known he'd cede the room. I wanted to tell you what he's doing now, but he's already done that, and he's going to talk about it. But there are a couple of his brochures about SOAMs. Am I pronouncing that?
SOAMs.
SOAMs. Sounds like Swansea, and that's not a coincidence. He'll tell you about what he's been doing these last couple of years, but I just found it interesting that someone who spent his whole career improving the health of the community would then retire and start digging into something so radically different as Native American history. So that is an overview of some of the contributions of our keynote speaker, my friend of 35 years now, and please welcome Dr. David Weed.
Well, you'll be relieved to know that I can only talk for 20 minutes because my video will run out in 30. But I'll try to keep this short and sweet. But thank you very much, Mike, for dredging up the past. Always good to be reminded of where we've been. I see a lot of new faces in this room, so hopefully this will be your introduction to what we've been doing prior to your joining partners. But I also see a number of people who've been here from the beginning, right, Linda? So wherever you entered partners, hopefully I'll remind you of some of the things that we've done, but this will not by any means be a complete list because that's what Suzanne's going to be talking about. So between the two of us, you'll get the whole story here. So we'll start with the first slide. Mike mentioned that I'm off on a new adventure. If you pick up next week, it doesn't come out till the 14th, copy of Prime Times, it's that giveaway in the grocery store, you will find this article that's all about the project that I've been working on for the past couple of years since I retired. And I won't need to go into any further explanation, but I will add, Mike, that I am doing low-carb teaching with the Pokanoket tribe, okay, because they have diabetes rates of more than half of their tribe. Okay, so very important to address health, but it just took me 2 years to kind of work my way in there. Right. Next. So I am still teaching low carb. I'm available. Nobody's called me. So I'm working in my state. Since I retired, I don't cross the bridge much, but I'm willing. I came here today. So I go to senior centers around Rhode Island. And I've had, I think, maybe a dozen or so opportunities to talk with people, and even some of them have invited me back. So I'm still keeping one oar in the health industry. Next. Because low carb is winning. Okay? What I was yapping about, as Mike referred to at some of the partners meetings probably 4 or 5 years ago, saying, oh, we've got to write to the U.S. Dietary Advisory Committee and get them to recognize that carbohydrates are a major contributor to both overweight and diabetes. So I've been working with Nina Teicholz. Anybody read Big Fat Surprise? If you haven't, go pick it up. In fact, you can get it for like $7 or $8 on Amazon, the quick read kind of thing. But Nina has pretty much single-handedly taken on this issue with the USDA and gotten new people appointed to that, so the recommendations that are coming out next year, we hope will have recommendations for those who need low carbohydrate diets, because right now, a physician or a cafeteria can't include those because it's not part of the USDA guidelines, okay? So you'll learn all about that. See some of these headlines about the Army adopting this because it works. Low carb is reversing type 2 diabetes, reversing. 47% of people who went on low carb diets are off all their medication, okay? And that's been published research just in the last year. And Weight Watchers, I love that, is now being crushed by the website dietdoctor.com, all about low carb. So, one more. Back from my digression. Okay, now we'll talk about partners. And I heard an oh my God. This is the earliest picture I could find. That's Julie at one of our events at White's. Remember, I didn't really start taking pictures of partners until I got a digital camera in 2000. All right, so there may be other pictures earlier than that. I can't find them. But you also see Sue up there. Okay, these are some of the people who were busy with us in the beginning. Who's this over here?
That's Carlos.
Carlos, okay?
He just had open heart surgery.
Really?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, hopefully he was following a low-carb diet, so we'll see how that goes. Yeah. I wish him well. And we'll mention a couple of these other guys a little later on, okay? But when you think about what we've achieved, okay, think about this. And when I say we, I mean the community, okay, not just partners. Because for the first accomplishment, it took the youth, okay, particularly those organized through BOLD, who ended tobacco sales in pharmacies before pharmacies decided to do that themselves. You remember that fight? Okay, that was an important victory. We've made the city more walkable and bikeable. Julie's not here today, but you all know the work that Mass in Motion has done. It's hard to see these transformations when they take place gradually over a period of time. But when I come into Fall River now and I see all the striping on the streets, they've done a great job. They really have improved things. And the planning that's going into streetscapes and things of that sort, this is all a reflection of our efforts to make the city more bikeable. Cleaned up the Quequechan. Again, that's been a slow process, but over that time, what was essentially an inner city dump has now become a gorgeous park with people going out there voluntarily every week cleaning the place up. It's amazing what's happened there. Where's Christian? Where'd he go? He changed seats. But gang violence. After years of the Shannon grants, we've significantly... When do you hear about gang violence now in Fall River? Huh? Everything I could find, I know it's not gone, but it's significantly reduced. Children's nutrition. There's somebody that's been doing some things in schools. She started Children in Balance, that's it, right? So starting way back when, and now continuing practically every week during the school year with the all of our events in the schools that Marcia's organized, we're beginning to see real changes, and if we can get the USDA to change, then maybe we'll get the rest of the process done. But kids are eating better, okay? And the fitness challenge, right, Anne Marie?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, 12 years and still going strong, okay? The longest running fitness challenge, not only in America, I think in the world. I mean, you find me another fitness challenge that's been running continuously for 12 years, not one of these, commercial ones, that gyms operate. I'm talking about a community-based free event that happens year after year, okay? Not bad, all right? And if somebody had said to you 10 years ago, we're going to accomplish all these things, they wouldn't have believed it, right? Next. So here's a short list of some of the things that we've done. I won't read them all, but you probably recognize some of those accomplishments and things that we've worked on all this time. And adding, I'm particularly pleased by the Suicide Prevention Task Force and their work. For 33 years, I worked in the Department of Mental Health to see if we could do something about suicide prevention through the Department of Mental Health. Would they ever do it? No. Okay? So Partners has taken that on, and we're making a good effort in that area. Next slide. Pioneering some of these, remember the soda-free challenge? Okay, remember Mr. Tooth? We still have that, right? So that's one of many approaches to get kids to cut the sugar. Of course, Family Fun Nights, Creative Arts Network. Anybody remember that? We have pioneered an interagency referral tool. I don't think it's in use now, but we did it first. A list of healthy dining restaurants, community resource guides. You all have those? Yeah, they're all over the place, right? You can't miss them, right? That was a major effort to get all those resources available. Worksite wellness, Angie's not here, but that process got started years ago, and both in Fall River and New Bedford is something that some of our local work sites are taking on. Drug take-backs, you know, you can go in the police station and you can put your unused prescription drugs there. How about the community closet restart? How's that going, Yancy?
It's going great. It's about to start in a couple of weeks, so the emails are going out to agencies that were picked out, hand-picked by Ms. Marsha Picard, and it's going to be great.
Good. Okay, so everybody should get ready to make some donations, right? Okay, good. That's a great program. Next. Some of the partnering efforts, I don't have all of them up here. I ran out of room actually to put more on there. But look at all these efforts that we've worked together on. Talk about an integrated community approach to health. This is the list here, okay? And as Mike was saying, I would challenge anyone to come up with a similar organization anywhere in Massachusetts who's got the range and scope of activities that this group works with. Okay, next. So I could give you the whole 25-year history, but Mike, you remember we already did that, right?
For the 20th, yes.
Yeah, for the 20th. If you go to the next slide there, okay, how many people have seen this? It's a 35-minute video. That's about the number of people who are, I think there've been about 40 views of it, okay? And probably half of those are mine. But so the rest of you, your homework assignment, so you don't have to listen to me continue to yap, is when you get to a computer and you've got the little slips of paper on your table there, that'll give you the link to watch this video. There's both the URL for the YouTube video and the page that you can go to that has the link on it, either way. But you can watch that because, next, that has all of these people and more talking about the history of Partners. So they did a fabulous job. Some of them are here in the room, right? Ms. Harrison, so you're one of the speakers in here. Everybody here told the story, okay, of Partners. And I can't think of a better way to catch people up. It's only been 2 years since I've been away, and nothing has changed from the past, so that's a good way to look. Next. As Mike said, we celebrated our national status. This is our formal picture from the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation. That put us on the map nationally. But that wasn't the only time we celebrated. Next. Because we did a lot of celebrating. I don't know if any of you remember being here. This was down at the Heritage what do you call it? State Park, Heritage State Park, right, yeah. And we had a great celebration there, but we had celebrations, a lot of times we did that with the legislative breakfast, okay, an opportunity to get together. Next. And as Marcia is fond of saying, this worked because we played well together, right? Next. So some, as I mentioned, have been with us from the beginning. Linda, you're up there. Okay, I don't know if you remember that occasion. Okay, and Gladys, she's not here. But Gladys was one of those people who were with us from the beginning. Next. None of us have aged a single bit, right? I still have my dark hair, and let's see, Mike, you still have your beard. We look the same, right? And even the guy in the center there, you all recognize him? Okay, I've got even earlier pictures, okay? And he hasn't changed a bit. Well, maybe. Okay, next. Who remembers some of these? The Start Walking Program. What organization sponsored that? Huh? Family Services, okay? We did walks down there. How about the Speak Program? Anybody remember that? I don't. How about the South Coast Outdoor Network? Still up there, okay? That was a thing to get kids to go outdoors more. Micro grants. How many people applied for a micro grant? Okay, yeah. And we had a number of recipients because they were really small grants. I think, what, $500, something like that?
They were a little bigger than that.
A little bigger, okay. Next. And how about some of these? Okay, what does TADA stand for? Teens Against Drug Abuse, right. How about YEAH? It's up there. Youth Experiencing Artistic Hope. That's still going. How about YES?
I should know this.
Huh?
I should know this.
Yeah?
It's youth.
Oh, that's not you, it's Grace.
I know, but I worked with those kids.
Yeah, okay. About the YES program. How about my favorite, FRAP? Anybody remember FRAP? It was obviously Fall River or something, whatever. This is what happens after time. You know, you invent things, they're good projects, and they fade. Okay. Next. How about some of these? How about Plot? Anne-Marie, Plot?
Promise Leaders of Tomorrow.
There you go. Part of the Heat Club?
Healthy Eating Active Time.
All right. You got it. What about Unnatural Causes? Anybody remember that?
It's so boring.
And that was going to transform the whole community, remember?
But it was too boring.
Okay. And where is this? Down here.
Oh, God.
Huh? Well, let me go over here. How about Funapalooza? Why Christian isn't here to explain that, but that's still going? Huh? Funapalooza? Okay. Anybody recognize this little town down here?
Is that Madeira?
Okay, if you click, it should get those. There it is. There he is, okay? Mike can tell you all about it. This was a sponsored trip where he went to Funchal.
Funchal is the capital city, Madeira is the island. Yeah.
Right. And there, he's receiving a gift from the mayor, I guess?
That's not the mayor, we met him too, I don't know who that guy was. Somebody Odette
He must have
knew.
been important.
It's somebody Odette knew, we introduced Odette.
Yes. So Odette also went there to translate because, how's your Portuguese?
It's been better.
And we were going to have a sister city kind of thing, and it didn't really come together. So much for those efforts. Next. Okay. So we want to be sure to recognize people who we've lost along the way. You saw in an earlier picture Peter Lee, who passed away now. It's been probably 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, at least 5.
But he was a big inspiration, did a lot of training and got people on board with the Healthy City concept. Paul Quinn from St. Anne's Hospital, okay, who was really kind of our guiding light for those first few years. I was always impressed that here's the guy from St. Anne's who came to Charlton once a month. Not many people did that then, but Paul did. Stuart Cocaldi, people remember him, okay, from Westport, great physician, and again, a very inspiring guy who's active. Gene Alves, okay, I don't know how many people knew him, but Gene was instrumental in getting the Health First Clinic and the new building and all of that. And then Bert Yaffe. Some of you may have gone to NECON conferences, but Bert was from Fall River and organized these health promotion events for all of New England. Okay. Next. And we can't forget Bill DuPont, okay? Bill was the inspiration behind the fitness challenge. He came up with the idea, and not only that, really inspired all of us to get active with that. So we want to thank all of those folks for their contributions, even though they're not with us. So speaking of the fitness challenge, from the beginning, okay, that was a real effort to mobilize the community. We got over 1,000 people involved in that the first year. Unbelievable, okay? And who was in charge of that? But Grace and Anne Marie. And I think both of them, it's too bad Grace isn't here, right?
She's on vacation.
Oh, okay. Well, let's give her and you a nice round of applause. And next, so I love this headline in the Herald News. This is way back in 2004, but it kind of says it all, that we're getting and staying healthy. And that's what Partners is all about. Next. So I'll turn it over to our MC, and another round of applause for the person who's going to keep this project going forever, Marcia Picard.